Crawford joins the Miller's Edge. Brad, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, Corey, thanks for having me, man. I wanted to say to start here, too, man, I really appreciate what you do for the kingdom outside of college football. That's what really matters, man.
Amen, brother. And I just read your report, man. I didn't even know. I'm sitting there looking at Twitter on my phone as I do this show that my former defensive line coach, Brad Lowen, has passed away. I saw you tweet that out and talk about the defensive lines.
Yeah.
He coached me, he coached Davion Clowney from different eras of football at South Carolina. I did not know he passed away, man. My heart is really heavy with that.
Yeah, very sad news this morning out of Columbia. Early reports are he suffered cardiac arrest this morning. Obviously, as you mentioned, Corey, he has led a lot of talented pass rushers. He has helped guys make millions of dollars at the next level. Davion Clowney, Devin Taylor, Melvin Ingram, all those guys. Dante Fowler at Florida, just a litany of quality football players. But, yeah, sad news to report for Gamecocks for sure.
I didn't know that either. Well, Brad Long, actually, he was going back to my recruitment when Steve Spurrier was there. Hardly any of those guys actually really recruited me to South Carolina, but the only guy that really did and wanted me to come there was Brad Long. And when he went to Florida with Will Muschamp, he was the first one to offer me, and he was a big reason why I ended up actually committing to Florida early on. And as a matter of fact, I actually saw Brad when we played Houston my rookie year with Carolina. He was close with Brian Burns as well. He knew him, and he called us over. He was there for somebody else, I believe, but called us over, and we both got to chat with him, man. And he was just so excited to see us both, living our dream, playing in the National Football League after recruiting both of us and getting to know us on a personal level. So a phenomenal human being and obviously a terrific coach as well. So, man, that's really sad to hear, but man, that's a tough one, man. He was a great coach and a great guy.
Yeah, he was. All right, Brad, you've been on this thing. The SEC released the 8 games for 2024 in the SEC. A lot of notable games that's still happening, some that's going to go away. Christian just talked about South Carolina not being able to play Georgia. But give us your overall assessment and thoughts of what you saw revealed last night.
I think there's some truly exciting games next season. The Big Ten kind of getting ahead of the SEC last week, releasing theirs, and then the SEC, sort of having the primetime spotlight on SEC Network. And really, Corey, it led to a lot of announcements that we kind of thought were coming, weren't sure. Alabama hosting Georgia. That they've only played 4 times in the regular season the last 2 decades, I want to say. Texas A&M renewing their, rivalry for the first time, I think since 2011, pretty big. And then Oklahoma, South Carolina, I'm calling that one the Beamer Bowl in Norman. So a lot of really good matchups in 2024 that, we're still 15 or so months away from that, but a lot to look forward to. And I think in the expanded SEC, with the college football playoff moving to 12, these tough schedules, they're going to allow for a loss or two to still make the playoff.
Brad, after seeing that schedule release, who do you feel got the toughest schedule for 2024 in the SEC?
Yeah, I think Florida's schedule, man, is brutal. Not only, is the Gators' SEC schedule very difficult with, games against Texas and LSU and Kentucky and Tennessee, but they've got to play Florida State, UCF, and Miami as well in non-conference. So Billy Napier in year 3 in Gainesville, he's going to have 11 games against Power 5 competition. This is a Florida team, y'all, that is projected to win 5 games this year, just won 6 last year. So if he goes into 2024 with back-to-back losing seasons, facing the hardest schedule in school history, Napier might not be the guy in Gainesville any longer, 3 years from now.
Brad, I want to ask you, with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, and you now see the schedule coming out, and we just alluded to that a lot of teams are going to have shifts in their schedule where Alabama's not playing Ole Miss. They're not playing Mississippi State. South Carolina's not going to play Georgia. Auburn's not playing LSU. Do you feel that it's almost imperative now that you go to a 9-game schedule? That way you can, savor as many of these matchups as you can?
So I'm going to be honest, man. I'm a big fan of protected rivalries, especially the Iron Bowl, Egg Bowl, Texas A&M. I think those 3 games specifically should be played every year. But, Alabama-Tennessee is going to be played in 2024, but it's not a game I think is a necessity every year. And getting back to your original question, I'm of the belief that the SEC doesn't have to move to 9 games in order to remain, college football's top dog. They've proved the last 2 decades that, winning national championships with an 8-game schedule and maybe one really quality elite opponent in the non-conference, that's more than fine. But I do think with college football playoff expansion, the SEC can afford to move to 9 games. And you're going to have an Alabama and Georgia every year that even if the Tide and Bulldogs finish 10-2 and we're to not win the SEC, they're still going to be shoe-ins to make that 12-team playoff based on scheduling. So I'm with Nick Saban. I don't think the SEC has to go to 9 games. I think they will go to 9 games eventually for revenue and money purposes. But unlike the Big Ten and Big 12 and Pac-12, the SEC has proven on the national stage they can win national titles without having to move to a 9-game schedule.
Brad, we're running a little short on time for this segment. Could you hold through the break?
No problem.
Sounds good. We're going to take a quick timeout, and we'll be right back on the Miller's Edge on Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
And welcome back to the Miller's Edge here on the Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Corey Miller, Christian Miller, hanging out here with you with special guest Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports. Remember our show presented by our good friends at Good Feet, America's arch support experts. So make sure you check our folks out there in the Tuscaloosa area at Good Feet. They'll take care of you. Get those dogs from stop barking. Before something happened to my end over here, Brad, I was asking about the South Carolina Gamecock matchup, their schedule in particular, now going to Tuscaloosa. That was one of the games that seemed to be missing, and I was hoping that Christian would have a chance to play his home university. That never happened until he left, and Najee Harris and Tua Tagovailoa had shredded the Gamecocks up. But talk about that and what that means for the Gamecocks.
I'll tell you what, man, that Najee Harris swing pass he caught out of the backfield at Williams-Brice, breaking 5 or 6 tackles going to the pylon. That was one of the nastiest plays I've ever seen, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, South Carolina's 2024 schedule, to be honest, Corey, I think it's favorable as Shane Beamer could have asked for. The road trip to Alabama obviously is going to be a tough game. Going to Oklahoma for the first time in school history, that's a fun one. Getting LSU in Columbia for the first time since 2008 in the Stephen Garcia clothesline game. That was kind of a fun nugget there. But,
yeah.
Outside of those 3 games against those elite teams and then the Palmetto Bowl at the end of the year, I think the schedule's pretty manageable. You've got Ole Miss, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. That's 4 games where South Carolina, the last 4 to 5 years, has recruited better than those 4 programs. That's going to continue under Shane Beamer. So, like I said, I think the coaching staff in Columbia right now looks at the 2024 schedule and really outside of Alabama, Oklahoma, and LSU, has to feel pretty good about it.
Brad, I've been asking this to Bama fans lately because I read and listen to a lot of stuff, and a lot of people are talking about LSU, and I want to get your thoughts on this. And you look at their schedule, what it looks like. But even this year, a lot of people are thinking LSU is going to be the team that take over Alabama, and some even said Georgia. And with Georgia's schedule, I don't see that happening, but is LSU for real that way, the way most folks are just saying this team is ready to take that next step?
I think LSU is one of the SEC's elites. I would put 3 teams in that category right now. Obviously, Georgia, Bama, Tigers being the 3rd one. Tennessee kind of 3B, but I'm not sold on Josh Heupel being able to do this, 11 wins a year annually. Has to kind of show me there. But I think Brian Kelly, already heading into year 2, he has surpassed expectations. Nobody saw LSU winning 10 games last year, Corey. They, kind of stumbled down the stretch, and they limped into that SEC championship game and then, blew out Purdue in the bowl game. But they bring back Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, 2 really strong quarterbacks. I think some folks who have watched practice might even say Nussmeier is better than Jaden Daniels. But I think Alabama's going to be fine in that LSU game this season. Alabama last year, that defense, despite it being so talented, it was really undisciplined, really it was Nick Saban's most undisciplined secondary that he's had in Tuscaloosa. And a lot of those guys back with, Kool-Aid and obviously Caleb Downs coming in, 5-star safety, he's going to start. So I think Alabama's going to be just fine there. I'm sure Nick Saban and Kevin Steele would love to have Harold Perkins at linebacker like Brian Kelly does. But Bama LSU in 2023 is going to determine, who wins the West and ultimately meets Georgia back in Atlanta.
Brad, how do you see Oklahoma and Texas faring in the SEC? Coming over from the Big 12, and I'm a guy that played in the SEC, so obviously I'm a proponent of them and just how physical the conference is. Do you feel that they'll be able to adapt and be able to play in the SEC?
Yeah, if I'm an Oklahoma fan right now, I'm probably worried just a little bit. That 2024 schedule, it includes road trips to Auburn, LSU. They play Tennessee and Alabama. It's a tougher schedule than what Texas drew in its first season. And Brent Venables last fall, man, went 6-7, and shockingly had a bad defense. And Brent Venables is like Mr. Defense, having coached about a decade with Dabo and had so many elite units in Death Valley at Clemson. And then in year one, Oklahoma, they couldn't tackle like a lot of other Big 12 defenses. Well, in the SEC, as both you guys know, you got to be good up front, and your linebackers have got the ball out, and they can't miss tackles leading to, big chunks in the second level. So I'm really anxious to see, can Oklahoma's defense, sustain 10, 11-win seasons in the new SEC. I think Texas will be able to. I think Steve Sarkisian, hasn't won a national title yet. I think that is going to come at Texas down the road. I don't know if it's going to happen during Arch Manning's tenure, but, this is a loaded roster, signed a top 3 class in 2023, and that coaching staff has a proven ability to develop guys. So Texas is a team right now, man, that I would buy more stock in than I would Oklahoma.
Wow. I mean, so you ride with Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. You know what? I don't know if I missed this, but Texas A&M, Texas, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to that because I know folks been, talking about this for a long time. Hasn't it been since like 2011, Brad, since they played?
2011, yeah. And actually that game was at Kyle Field too. So there are some Texas guys I know who are pretty upset that the next installment of this rivalry is going back to College Station. One more thing about Steve Sarkisian. I gained a lot of respect for him when I saw him dice up Ohio State in that 2020 championship game. I mean, the way he got Devontae Smith the football the first 2 quarters of that game and was just out scheming Ryan Day at every step. It was marvelous to watch. And I sort of thought immediately, wherever he goes to be a head coach next, he's going to be able to recruit talent like Devontae Smith, and he's going to be able to win. And I think you're going to see that moving forward at Texas.
Yeah, there are. I mean, it's such a fun team to watch, and again, they get off to a really good start. They got all those quarterbacks there, so we'll see what happens there. Again, Brad Crawford is our guest here, 24.
With 24/7 Sports, what he was saying, we might have lost him. That weather is really messing with our signal. But Brad, I know we've had you on for a little while, so I just want to get one more question before we let you go. And I know you cover everybody, so you get to see pretty much all these different teams and different players. Last year, we saw Caleb Williams take home the Heisman Trophy.
Yep.
And for this season, he's obviously back in college football. So a lot of people are going to go with him as a favorite to win it again. But outside of Caleb Williams, who do you see as an early favorite, or you can name a couple guys that potentially taking home that Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 quarterbacks because obviously a quarterback's going to win the award. It's become a quarterback-driven award, and unless Marvin Harrison has a Devontae Smith-type year for Ohio State, then, a wideout's not going to win it. But I like Washington quarterback Michael Penix. Kalen DeBoer and the Huskies last season won 11 games, probably 4 more wins than everybody thought they would have in a loaded Pac-12. So I like Michael Penix. And then one dark horse, Carson Beck at Georgia, man. A few of my high school coaching buddies have watched Georgia's spring practice 4 or 5 times this spring, and all of them told me the same thing. Carson Beck was humming it, and throwing it around a lot of new guys they got down in Athens. Ra Thomas from Mississippi State and Dominique Lovett, a slot guy from Missouri. So I think Carson Beck, Stetson Bennett's heir apparent, he's going to have a pretty fine season between the hedges.
Wow. Carson
All right,
Beck.
brother. It's going to be exciting.
That's the last thing Bama fans wanted to hear is that Georgia's quarterback is throwing the ball, humming it, and he's about to. And you're saying he's an early Heisman favorite. That's the last thing people in this part.
Hey, Jalen Milroe is not too bad either, and he should be the guy for Bama. I'm still not sure why they dipped into the portal after spring to go after Tyler Buckner, but hey, Tommy Reese and Nick Saban get paid millions. I don't, so.
I'm with you on that, man. I like Milroe. I was talking to someone very close to Alabama's program yesterday. They like Milroe. And they've been at practice, and they said, "Hey, man, Ty Simpson is spinning that thing, and he got athleticism to go on top of that." So I think Buckner is just like the insurance policy. I think one of these two quarterbacks don't pan out, Brad, you got a guy that's played some really quality snaps and came back and beat South Carolina in the Gator Bowl last year. A guy that knows the system already, so you don't have to teach him a bunch of stuff. So I think he's kind of the insurance policy for Bama.
Yeah.
But I think they're hoping that Jalen Milroe and or Ty Simpson will separate themselves this summer, and now you got your quarterback. But if not, I think they feel very comfortable saying, "Hey, you know what, Buck? Here you got the keys to this Ferrari. Go ahead and drive it."
And they're going to have stars in the backfield. They've got guys at wide receiver. Kobe Prentice and Ja'Cory Brooks are going to have really good years as long as that quarterback position is consistent and doesn't turn over the football.
Well, man, I really appreciate you carving out time to be on the Miller's Edge here at the Tide 100.9, and you do such a wonderful job. I read all your videos and your Twitter. I like even arguing with you sometimes on this. I love it. And then
you like arguing with everybody.
I know.
You find a reason to argue with
everybody.
everybody.
I can't agree with everybody. I like Brad. That's why I'm calling him on the show. He does a great job, but I like to argue. I like to get mixed it up. That's what the world's all about. But there's no hate. There's no, we believe in the kingdom and the one who's about the kingdom, Jesus Christ, and we got that to go, right? We got that to go, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the invite, and I'll come on anytime, fellas.
Brad, before we let you go, tell everybody where they can and follow you and read up on all your good stuff.
Yeah, B Crawford 247 on Twitter. Also lead a men's ministry that we have over 2,000 followers now on that, called Men on a Mission. So anybody who wants in on that, just send me a DM on Twitter.
That's awesome.
I need to check that out, man. To come and speak for you. You can speak for me with Giants for Christ. Let's tap in some other stuff besides sports, because that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir, man. Talk to y'all soon.
Sounds good.
Brother.